Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Not the Solid Jack Egg. This is actually Kings of the Storm Weekly number 12 with their fill-ins. I'm the FourCourtJester, and with me today, making a super big effort all the way across the pod, Mr. Ben Hasselot. How you doing, sir? It's good to meet you finally. I've heard some amazing things about your casting.
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Excited to be here. It's just gone midnight over in the UK, in London. I had a little power nap earlier, and I'm all riled up and ready to get some NA coverage underway. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, seriously. Today is a day of days for Heroes of the Storm because there's a lot of tournaments going on, but Kings of the Storm will continue. It's the last open monthly qualifier for February because the monthly finals are, I want to say next weekend, but, it could actually be a little bit past that. All you're going to have to do is follow Kings of the Storm on Twitter at Kings of the Storm to find out when. But that means that these teams tonight, they're looking for the seeding points. They're looking for the chances to get into that monthly qualifier, to take home the prize, the glory, the money. And up first for tonight's Chop Shop, it's going to be ESV Wildfire and actions per minute. I believe that you have a little bit of experience with both these teams.
Yeah, I remember doing some ESL stuff. I think it was one of the Go4s. And I remember seeing Wildfire play on Sky Temple. I can't remember who they played against, but it was a pretty close game back and forth as Sky Temple is. And APM, I've got a lot of coverage of them. They played in the HPL NA qualifiers. They've also played in the Go4s. And they were a team that actually surprised me because coming into that last HPL qualifier, I really thought that the teams left were going to be like subpar. But APM came out and then they showed it to me on the Go4s as well that you can really compete with the top teams in NA. So really excited to see them today.
Yes, indeed. So game number one is going to be best of one. It's the only round with a best of one, and that means you got to be putting your best foot forward. We're going to Cursed Hollow, Mr. Haas, and we're going to be taking a quick look here at this draft. Looks like APM was up first, and they decide that they don't want to deal with the man with the hammer. It's going to be an Uther ban, followed very closely by an Illidan.
I just need to find the draft link quick.
So sorry, thought
it's
you had that.
No,
there you go, good sir.
Thank you.
You can get that. But to continue on from there, the first picks from APM was actually into a Rhaegar. So they are going to take the Rhaegar, despite the fact that the Illidan is out. Definitely a healer that has come into his own this last patch. The flip side from ESV Wildfire is going to be the Vala into Tassadar.
Okay, so my Stormcraft is actually bugging out.
Lovely.
Yeah. Let's try and find this one manually. We are APM against Wildfire.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, no, not working for me.
Even the link I sent you?
Even the link you sent me, it's not working. Well, I think it might be because picks started, but I'm not sure. So, yeah.
Well, right now we have a Rhaegar sitting there from APM, a Vala and Tassadar on the flip side. Vala as the first pick, we have been seeing traditionally more of the supports actually picked out first. Vala, however, does seem to be more or less the lone ranged assassin type these days that kind of makes it through a lot of these drafts.
Yeah, it seems right now if you want to go... Oh, it's working. If you want to go damage, brilliant. You tend to go... although it seems a little bit messed up for me. I've got Uther Band, Rhaegar, Hammer, Malfurion for APM.
Yep, that's exactly right. That is the next set of picks because it was that and that. Now you're all caught up, more or less.
Yeah, so the Uther Band is certainly an interesting one. He is arguably one of the top supports right now. When you look at Rhaegar as well, it's usually you see one of those two banned. And as APM had first pick, they went for the Rhaegar, which we all know is really strong with the burst heal, the amount of utility he brings. And the fact they're going double heal as well is really an interesting one. They have so much burst heal and so much healing over time already in just those two picks. They're going to be able to keep themselves sustained. Right now, it's going to be looking like ETC, soaking up a lot of damage. The Rhaegar Ancestral Healing coming down onto him. And then Hammer's just there sitting at the back, getting pilled for.
Before we get to the EDC, you got to go back because this is back and forth. The double tank pickup is a little surprising to me from ESV Wildfire because they still don't have a healer really on board. They do got the Tassadar, and now looking at all this, it looks like they're going to be forced into either Lily or Brightwing with that double pickup, but they're looking for a very strong front line.
Yeah, and with that strong front line, they can just keep going forward in these fights and just keep following onwards. And with the Tassadar help, they're going to be able to soak up so much damage there as well. And so long as you can keep Valor alive, she can put out so much damage throughout a fight, whether she goes auto-attack or multi-shot build. So they have a lot of damage. It's now just this support pick which is going to be troubling them.
Yeah, so you did mention that the Battle Cow has joined the APM side. It's going to be a Tychus to flesh out the roster there. ETC has definitely become one of the more in-crowd tanks, simply because he just literally has not been touched in multiple patches. And because a lot of the nerfs coming out for some of our NA favorites, he has become definitely a bit more. But Diablo has also been on the rise. I haven't really seen a lot of uses to promote the advocacy of a Diablo, but he does have some certain wombo comps. Typically, though, you'd see that with, like an Azebo. I've seen it now with actually Gazlo over in Korea, would you believe? That's a little bit more of an old school meta, but there's no Nazebo to be found here. And now ESV, they can't take another DPS unless they're going to go healless.
Yeah, and ESV, Nazebo would have fit perfectly into this comp, because what CC do APM have to interrupt this? Essentially none, but as you said, they've got to go for a support pick here. The Tychus pick on APM, just to throw it back once more, it's a little bit boggling for me, because they have so much damage from the hammer, and going up against the double tank lineup, I really feel like Tyrande could have worked extremely well in that composition, using the Hunter's Mark, getting the stun out as well there, just to stop Diablo and Stitches moving on forward. But the Tychus, he brings a lot of damage, of course. You've got to play safer now with the good old Odin change that came in a few weeks back. So he's going to be more on the back line, relying on the Malfurion Tranquility to help him out.
Yeah, the Tranquility, the Ancestral Healing coming in. You're absolutely right with that Odin change. That's why we had a big drop-off of the Tychus. We saw kind of more of the rise of the specialists, at least here in this meta. Yeah. But Tychus has actually invaded quite a few of my games over the last week or so, between the 2 amateur leagues on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, now today. Who knows what I'll see tomorrow, but here it is. ESV is going to opt to take the more squishy of the healers, because it was definitely hit with the nerf bat this last patch. Brightwing will be making a return. Now, the good news about Brightwing on Cursed Hollow is that it's such a huge map that the phase shift is going to come in very handy. We're going to have to see if it will be the Bribe, first level, old school sort of talent choice. So that is some good advantages to kind of offset the fact that it's the only healer here for Wildfire. They got to make sure that they keep this Brightwing safe. Yeah,
they really do. And I'm interesting to see which heroic Brightwing goes for, because Emerald Wind, there's no real run straight at you from APM, unless of course they go Bloodlust, but even so, that's a little bit risky. So I'd expect to see the Blink Heal go out, just to help heal for the Valor, because ETC is going to be there jumping in on top. But as you said, the global presence of Brightwing is going to be so strong on Cursed Hollow, of course. I will invite you back.
I left the game. Yep.
Yeah, back. There we go. So, yeah. But, yeah, Brightwing on Cursed Hollow, so much global pressure. You know exactly where one of the first 2 tributes is going to be. It's either going to be bot or top, and if you're going to be a 50% chance there that Brightwing's going to be in the opposite lane, so you can just soak it. And hopefully the RNG gods bow down to you, shine upon you, and that you're able to soak that extra lane whilst people are fighting for the tributes.
All right, so we're going to be jumping on into our first game of the night, guys. It is going to be, once more, best of 1 on the Cursed Hollow. Keep that in mind as we're jumping in. But at the same time, you said Bloodlust. I'm really actually liking the idea of a Bloodlust here from APM, because Malfurion can cover with the Trank, but you got a Sergeant Hammer, you got a Tychus, you got a Battle Cow, and you can add not only those movement speed auras, attack speed auras with the Bloodlust, but you can also get it out of the Battle Cow there. That seems like a very scary kind of buff stack for a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, especially if you think about Hammer taking moving in siege mode. With Bloodlust, it would just more or less make her as mobile as normal, so it'd be awesome. You'd just be having so much splash damage output so quickly, and with Tychus in there as well, Bloodlusted Odin, it's a throwback to what, November-ish time, I guess?
Definitely a time in the past.
Yeah, a time in the past. So yeah, there's definitely potential there for Bloodlust. It could be a little surprising, and they don't really have much burst ESV Wildfire, so the Ancestral Healing may not be needed.
And, well, as I said, it's definitely possible. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a Bloodlust other than Murloc's Inc. in a very failed series where they got 2-0'd in a Go4Heroes finals. That was literally the last time I saw it in the last few months. It's Just kind of something that felt us out of power. It's no longer that triple ranged back end, but who knows? Maybe today will be the day, because Heroes of the Storm is definitely a game of choices. But coming in, these teams choosing it to face off here for the guts and glory of Kings of the Storm Weekly 12. On your left-hand side, it will be the blue team of ESV Wildfire, Bims, Wargreymon, and Pickles holding down the mid. Iakona's going to be out solo in the top, and Tsunami for the bottom.
And on the right-hand side, coming in as the red team, we have actions per minute. Bottom lane is Nuddle and Faliteran, with Vu joining him now on the Tychus. Mid Malfurion, played by Mr. Savage, and the top lane is good old Meadowtown, playing ETC.
Meadowtown is a fantastic player. He's really fun to actually just play around with in Hero League. And in terms of the level 1 talents, we do actually have some shuffling going on. It looks like Tassadar and the Valor can be heading down south to say hi to Stitches and the team. I'm not entirely too sure that's going to be a kill, but hey, they're going to go for it. Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the separation between that and Faliteran, but fortunately nothing really else is going to be coming of it. But once more, for the first level of talents, Bribe is coming out here, the Soul Feast for Diablo. It looks like the beginnings of a multi-shot build from Vala, and well, probably a slam build, I want to say, from the Stitch, but we'll have to see what he gets at the 16. It's really the defining talent for that kind of build. And flip side, I mean, everything looks pretty on point from both sides. Nothing really out of the ordinary. And these other lanes are just like wet noodles, Mr. Haas. It's going to be about the party lane bottom.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be about this bot lane. And when Hammer Siege is up, it's just a prime target for Tasta to try and de-Persian. Tasta, a really strong counter at the moment for this Hammer lane. Can obviously clear the waves quickly, deal damage onto Hammer, and not forgetting, being able to shield structures means that Hammer's push is a lot less strong, a lot less threatening to the side of ESV Wildfire. And the amount of hooks that Tsunami's got already, and he gets another one there, they're just insane. Putting Nuddle down so low there. Vu's already had to tap Fountain. Nuddle becoming so out of mana because having to constantly heal his teammates, and Faliteran playing so safe behind this wall as well because, again, a very prime target.
Now, ESV is actually pushing back this Hammer comp despite the fact that they don't have any heals. Level 4 did actually just get achieved, so we do have a healing ward available there to Bims, but we've also had, the healing totem this entire time. Another fantastic hook on top of the Tychus. He's going to get low. It's not quite going to be a kill. Nice concussive blast there from Faliteran to help out, and of course we are just going to siege up. But it's not too often that you see a non-healer side of things actually push back a Sergeant Hammer comp this early on, and they're negating pretty much the entire early game effect.
Yeah, they really are, and again, another hook here. And you've got to think right now that this tribute is going to go to the side of ESV Wildfire, and Brightwing shouldn't even really need to port down right now. He's just having fun in this top lane against Meadowtown. They're pretty even up there. But down bot, very safe tribute here for Wargreymon.
Yeah, the superior position, man. That's what it came down to. So, I mean, what can APM do? They can just sack it, or they can lose experience. No, sacking it's definitely the safer option.
Yep, definitely so. And they are having a real trouble down here with this early game that they have. But their comp does signify a stronger late game though, with Tychus, with the Hammer in there. Once Hammer gets sieged up at 20, it's going to be so threatening, and we all know Curse Hollow's game, or one of the maps where later gameplay is more likely. You usually see it 20-25 minutes, more so than, say, Mines or any other map.
So in terms of, let's talk a little bit about the late game, because there's really not much going on. Yeah, Nuddle, he'll get low, but
he'll get low, yeah.
I mean, as I said, the other two lanes are basically null and void at this point. Nuddle, I mean, he's able to tap Fountain, he has his healing ward, and he's going to be okay for now. But the late game, what do you think we're going to be seeing here from the ETC? We've been seeing a rise of Stage Dive, gets you some nice global pressure, and up against perhaps Slam Stitches, the Polymorph, Reign of Vengeance, and a possible Apocalypse. I don't think we can safely go for a Mosh.
No, and Stage Dive on this map, we've said how large it is, and where split pushing is really key with the whole idea of tributes. You'd more than likely see a Stage Dive here. Pickle's getting in a little bit of trouble in mid, but he's all good. And yeah, Stage Dive is probably more favourable out here, although a Mosh Pit would work wonders because, of course, you'd have the Ancestral Healing as you come out of it, but again, that's dependent on the Ancestral Healing, and they're going to be contesting for this top tribute now.
Yep, absolutely. We do got the 3-on-3. Brightwing now coming from the back, and a great overpower will be the end of Tychus. Healing ward to be placed by Mr. Savage, but fortunately there's nobody left in its vicinity. Iacona is literally just zoning out not only the battle cow, but Nuddle and the Malfurion as well. I mean, losing out their DPS doesn't bode well this early game for the APM, but it's 2 tributes in a row. ESV is looking to set up nicely for an early curse.
They really are. And ETC, this is where he kind of power spikes once he gets this 7 talent, because of course he's got that extra damage in there. But against a Brightwing, it's going to be really hard for him to push and get some damage down on those towers and force the Brightwing out of lane because of how much she's able to sustain up top. And back down bot, Hammer's trying her best to siege up and get this push going, but going into this slam Stitches, he can just wave clear so quickly. You can now see that Tassadin has disappeared and he's still able to clear the waves. Diablo coming down now as well, the hook just missing. That would have set up a great gank for the Diablo.
Now, this patch has definitely been a little bit more experimentation with the Stitches talents as well, because check out that level 7 right now. It is the Toxic Gas. Increases the radius, increases the duration by 2 seconds. You mentioned that he's able to wave clear so well. Look at that little green bile goo. Absolutely well placed. It clears out so very well up against Falatarin, who has to rely on his siege mode for the splash damage. And it's definitely a lot of more experimentation I've been seeing more and more here with the Stitches, with his talents. It's not just straight hook, it's not just straight slam. Bringing in now some of these passive talents to augment his combat traits, it's definitely working out.
Yeah, as Falatarin now getting hooked, and the Ancestral Healing coming down very early on now.
Yeah, Pickles, however, is going to be thrown down immediately. That lightning breath. Here comes the stage dive from top. We should be seeing the Brightwing in there as well. Falatarin's going to be okay. Lots of damage coming out from him. Meadowtown, however, is going to be a big target. Multi-shot in the back. Not able to take him home, but there goes Nuddle. This 5-man stack from ESV. Pickles not dead yet. The Odin got its entire form off it. That's going to be an overkill kill for Val. Now that it's going to be the rest of the ESV on the retreat, I think that Tranquility was just a little bit too much to sustain, but a great hook. Falatarin is going to be on the opposite side of this, despite the grenade, despite the thorns, but Sergeant Hammer, he's going to drive. In fact, we got Mr. Savage over the wall as well. Meadowtown coming in, but he doesn't have the hit points for this, and I think APM should have cut their losses because they definitely had the upper hand, and they sort of threw it there.
Yep, there's a moment where you think we should probably just back out, and it was around about where they got the kill on Vala in the middle of the lane. At that point, they should have turned and been, this is the best we're going to get. Stitches still has Gorge. Once we get close to those towers, Diablo's there, it's going to be extremely dangerous for us, but they just kept on trying to go through, and they paid the price. And something about this Stitches build now, because he's going for the more DPS-orientated build with the slam, it means that Diablo can go full tank. This is why we saw the double tank pickups. Tank Stitches got nerfed quite dramatically because you'd rely on hook and then take a lot of damage and fishing hook at 16. But of course, because the cooldown on that got nerfed in the previous patch, it means that you're going to have the hook off cooldown a lot less. So you've got to rely on damage now, and your best ability for that is slam. So just getting a lot more damage in there.
Damage Stitches is a terrifying Stitches. When played correctly, he can be top 3, he can be top damage. I mean, yes. Even as a Sergeant Hammer, sometimes I've gone into games and it's just been absolutely staggering how I get out damaged by freaking Stitches. But I'm not entirely too sure what the game plan from APM was here, because the tribute came up, the tribute was taken, they're now going to be cursed. It looks like they were busy up at the Bruisers. Vu, and not Val, but Vu, the Tychus, has actually been pushing down the top with that melting point, uncontested, but at the same time, and you need to either find some kind of trade during these curses, you need to engage some kind of team fight to try to minimize losses, but right now APM's just giving up, at this point, 2 forts for free. Yeah,
this would actually be quite a nice spot for APM to fight in. They've both got their 13 talents, but if you allow Pickles to just jump in like this, it's dangerous, although Falatarin's still able to sustain himself up.
Yeah, he's got himself, double healers in his pocket. He's not really going to fear too much in terms of the Pickles, but here comes the collapse on top of Meadowtown. He does, again, have that stage dive. No mosh threat here. Great hook, but also a great dash coming out from Vu. Rain of Vengeance not going to be locking him up. First aid is popped. Here comes the Lightning Breath. It is negated pretty much immediately by not only the Ancestral, but the Tranquility, and now the hit points of ESV are not looking so swift. Here comes the backline invade with that stage dive. Meadowtown goes in. Diablo going to be dead in the water, but only for 5 seconds due to that passive. And it looks like Stitches, however, will be dead for a little bit longer as Tsunami will drop to this pressure. Not entirely too sure what ESV was trying to do with that pressure here, but they got the gates, they got the bottom fort. Fortunately, that's all they took from the curse. So it's a really not a terrible situation for APM whatsoever.
Oh, and look at this. They were looking to go for the enemy boss here, but Stitch has 20 seconds left. They might decide against it. Fu's still toying with the idea. But that's what I was saying. That would have been a perfect time for APM to try and fight. They were even on talents. They had the curse. They needed to negate as much damage to their structures as possible, and the best way to do that was by fighting, and it worked out for them. They won the trade, and now they're still trying to grab this boss. 5 versus 3 though, it might turn a little bit sour.
Yeah, Mr. Savage is going to be the overpowered victim. Oh, the Ancestral too little too late. The boss is still slamming on the team of APM, but it is going to be a 2-for-1 trade. The Diablo, after losing all those stacks of souls, not as tanky as he could be. He's going to drop. Vala's coming in. The stun on top of him. There goes the Ancestral now on top of Vu. Meadowtown and Vu in position to get this capture point, but it's going to be the eat there from Tsunami. Vu's actually going to be out of it now, but ESV unfortunately just do not have the pressure. Down 2 members to get that boss, and it will swing the way of APM, and 4 kills later. That's actually almost putting us now in the experience lead for APM after a little bit of a shaky early game.
And once this boss gets bot fort, or at least applies a lot of pressure, they're going to be ahead in this game, and they're now going to go take their own boss as well, APM here. So they've just gained a lot of map pressure from what was essentially a bit of a mistake from them by not contesting that 4th tribute that spawned.
Absolutely, yeah. So APM, as I said, a little bit shaky early, but so far, you called it, the late game comp is coming out in dividends. I mean, ESV Wildfire, they look really good in the beginning initial engages, but they don't really have the sustain because they only got the Brightwing. They're up against a Tranquility, an Ancestral, double healing ward, whereas they only got the Brightwing. You know, Blink heal's great, but it's not AoE. They do have their own healing ward, but it's just not the same level of sustain.
And the fact that Brightwing's taken Cleanse as well instead of either Gust of Healing or the other one.
Cleanse even 4. Roots?
That's
Power
what
Slide?
I was just thinking. It's essentially just Malfurion Root. That's it.
Right.
Or Rhaegar Slow, but even so, that's not a lot. That's the only CC.
Rhaegar didn't even go where it has. Went blood for
exactly.
blood.
He went blood for blood, just adding more damage so that he's able to stick to his targets more. And 16 talents each. Vims is going to get snared up, which should allow them to grab the tribute halfway down on Nuddle. Is he it? No. Pickles denies him.
Yeah, Pickles comes in from the side. Palatern there with that Siege has been doing some definite work. Mr. Savage gets himself the Ancestral, but again, Lightning comes out. Pickles didn't really seem to connect really with it that time. Down goes the Lord of Terror once more. Tsunami's now going to be the big target, losing over half his hit points in one straight volley, and that is once more going to be a team fight swinging the way of APM. They're going to be able to solidify another tribute, which will put them in position for Curse on the next spawn, and we're sort of running out of time here. Too many more of these lost team fights from ESV, and you're going to start seeing keeps getting pegged down.
Yeah, we can already see bot keep from ESV is losing some of its hit points. APM rotate towards mid to try and push this one. They could, even if they wanted, go and contest the enemy's hard camp. They're in a great position to try and do so, but it looks like Wildfire, they're going to take it for themselves. And Tsunami's actually looking for a hook here, and that's why.
That's actually a really fantastic level 1 spot. If you're on the red hand side, just go all the way to this spot and look for a hook behind the tower. It's actually can be some very hilarious effects. It's like the old school horseshoes. Or at least that's what I call them here in the mid. These U-shaped boxes. You can really do some fun things there. But I mean, overall, level 17 to 18, it's not lost yet here for Wildfire, but they definitely need something to happen. It looks like, at least, you know, a lot of these fights, there's definitely a lack of a coordinated burst on one of these healers. I mean, Rhaegar is staying in the back, Malfurion's staying in the back. The heals have been very on point from both of the healers here from APM. I'm actually going to bring up the numbers. 39,000 compared to the 35 of the Brightwing. 21 from Tassadar, impressive with just that healing ward, but it's definitely fallen short in terms of the numbers.
Yep, and Tsunami gets another hook here. Savage is going to fall quickly, and this is what the team of ESV need. And Pickles now are using the Lightning Breath, but even without Tranquility, it's still not doing a lot of damage here.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting that pick is the best they could hope for. There's the Ancestral on Fallow Terran. Netto Town trying to do the work that they can. They do got one healing ward in the back. A nice placement from it on it from Nuddle, but that's going to be it for the Siege Tank. She's down. Pickles this time, nowhere even close to being dead, and that's what we've been talking about. You get one of those healers, and all of a sudden, it's basically a fair fight. And ESV, they're finally able to put some points now on the board. That will be their tribute as well, avoiding the curse. And Malfurion's just got to be thinking, all right, we can't let that happen again. That was a little embarrassing.
Yes, this just shows what ESV can do once they isolate a healer. If they get rid of Malfurion, get rid of Rhaegar, then they can win fights. They just showed that. They just need to be patient on these hooks from Tsunami. Yes, it's got a longer cooldown, but that just means you got to be a bit more patient and use the Diablo to try and disengage any engage that APM bring. And the only real engage that APM have is this ETC stage dive, unless of course someone gets caught by a Malfurion route, but that's not really possible because he didn't take Elune's Grace, so it's pretty short range, and if you're getting picked by Malfurion, you're probably out of position anyway.
He does have the Tenacious, so I mean the AoE effect does grow larger, but it is of course the growth that is larger. It doesn't reduce the time of that growth, so you're right, he doesn't have that level 7 Elune's Grace. He does actually have the enduring growth, so a bit more heal oriented, but it's been working out so far. APM not deciding to contest, but they're not really doing anything else, so a little confused about that one.
I guess they're just giving ETC some time to split push top and get their lane set up how they want. They could turn focus to bot lane right now. The keep has taken some damage, and it looks like... Oh, I thought ESV were going to go for a bit of a party brush, but they're just going to go straight for this keep. And this is an interesting play. Brightwing can TP. ETC can stage dive as well. They're just trying to get it and get out. And I don't know why APM aren't going for the surround. They took the long route round.
Yeah, there's no Iacona there. Here comes the stage dive somewhere. There he is, yeah. Oh, what a hook on top of Mr. Savage. And once more, Malfurion is going to drop into the death timer. Lightning Breath does come out, and basically now that's going to sound the retreat here from APM. That was really just a weird engage, but overall it worked out. They faked, they baited, they went fishing with the hook, they got themselves a Malfurion, and now ESV is actually in a good position to go pick up this third tribute and have their second curse again. Yep.
But I feel like APM should at least try and engage this a little bit, just try and do some damage and delay it, but they're not going to. They're going to try and pick up Iacona in bot lane, but you know how slippery Brightwing is.
But he doesn't have that phase shift. He just used it to get to the fight.
There it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Boss timer is up though, Haas, and top boss. It's very typical during the curse. You go for the boss, and they're very likely to actually grab both. We still got 10 seconds on Malfurion, and Malfurion has absolutely been a non-factor in both these last fights.
Yep, he's been picked off so early on that he hasn't been able to Tranquility, he hasn't been able to CC or really do too much for his team. And it really shows because ESV, they've been winning these fights. Not exactly convincingly, they've been getting 2 for 1, 1 for 0 trades, but even so, it's swinging it back in their favor considering how poor their mid game was.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird how, you know, we had like a little bit of a shaky early game there from APM. They came out strong into the mid with that late game comp that we thought was just gonna, you know, kind of clean up and have that big resurgence, but it just goes to show player skills, player positioning, game sense. It's not always about the comp. It's not always about your talent decision. It is definitely also how you gel as a team. And so far, ESV, they're showing their veteran colors. They might have been a bit down, but they're certainly not out. Level 20 each. And, you know, right now it is all about APM being busy with these bosses. They're not going to lose too much top. They did actually lose out top for it. They somehow have yet to lose the mid. Kudos to them. But they do have boss number 2 making its way down this bottom lane.
Yeah, we've actually got the 20 talents coming in now. Malfurion and Rhaegar both going for the Storm Shield is going to get rid of a lot of damage. Meadowtown, I hope that shields and heals will help him though, but those Storm Shields, they're just going to help so much against the damage of Valor and the Lightning Breath from the Diablo. The APM now really shouldn't be dying at all.
And you can see Mr. Savage. He's staying way there in the back. Nuddle back there as well. Falatarin is inching forward with that hover siege. Looks like ESV is just going to be content taking the keep, but they also have themselves now a path to the core. One good team fight could be the win for them. Whereas on the flip side, we still have gates. We still have keeps. We haven't even taken... Okay, we've taken down the bottom gate, but... that's actually it here for APM. Level 20 race is now over, so really it's just going to come down to the team fighting mechanics of both of them at this point.
As the 20 talents from ESV, they're pretty standard there. 2 bolts on the Stitches and the Valor. Stitches, of course, Gorge. Bolt is just going to isolate whoever he hooks even further away from the target's team. And this is an interesting play here. Very nice rotation from ESV. They just narrowly missed the hook. But either way, they're going to get this hard cap. Oh, are they? Meadowtown jumping in.
Yes, stage dive there on top of Bins. Amazingly big. That's going to be the lightning miss right there. Pickle's not going to get really interrupted at all, not even focused down whatsoever. Meadowtown, however, did get himself a heal with that Ancestral, and there goes the Lord of Terror. He'll be back in 5 seconds, but the bigger thing is Vala now going to be down. Bims has already used out the prescience, I think. And I'm not entirely too confident on his ability to get out of this one. Does try to juke out, but that's going to be a nuke coming down with the hammer. There's the prescience, so he did actually have it still up. And that's the story of the Tassadar. In the late game, he's virtually impossible to kill. He's basically just wasting time at this point, whereas it does look like Pickles and Tsunami, they're going for Mr. Savage. Problem is Nuddles right there, Meadowtown right there. That's not going to be a kill on Malfrain. In fact, now we're turning it around. We're going to be looking for some roots. We're going to be looking for the bite, but well, actually I say that, but Nuddle actually doesn't have it. And instead, it's just going to be some bolts to get away. Definitely a fight that went the way of APM. Fortunately, there's nothing really on the map for them to capitalize on.
No, it was a little bit of a greedy play there from ESV that could have worked out for them. I mean, it was a great choke there for Lightning Breath to go through, and combine that with Rain of Vengeance, which unfortunately missed.
He does have it. Sorry, Feral Lunge.
Yeah,
I don't think I've personally registered that he had it. So my bad.
Now, one of the great things about Feral Lunge is you can spot a really great Rhaegar player from the way he micros with Feral Lunge, because you can cancel your auto attack animation just before you hit a target and effectively just lunge
for free. Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. So if you're good with Rhaegar and you can micro, then you can really just bypass the entire front line just by lunging to each target and end up on that Valor should you be needed. But Savage hooked again here. Tsunami now blinking away.
Yeah, Nuddle is chasing somebody, not entirely too sure. Savage, however, wow, he's actually going to drop once again. Now Furion's going to be a null factor. They're looking for the kill on top of Pickles. It's going to take a lot, but they do get it. And it's now going to be a 4-on-4. Meadowtown there in the front line. We still got Odin. He's coming out. That nuke is going to be it for Stitches. Now Wargreymon and crew are on the retreat. It's going to be Meadowtown frontlining it here. Another nuke coming down from Boo. Falatarin is actually going to thruster forward. He's looking for those last shots on top of Wargreymon. Cannot quite get it, but it's going to be a blink forward here from Meadowtown. They're looking for the kill on top of Bims. Again, the prescience comes out, saves him big. And once more, Tassadar is not going unto the void, but it will be a little bit of a siege into the bottom keep here for APM.
And now how do you stop this Valor? Your 2 tanks are dead. You really can't... not Valor, sorry, your Hammer. Yep. Your 2 tanks are dead. You really can't get on top of her. What can you do? Storm it. You can multi-shot, and that's about it. They could, in theory, get some huge core damage down here.
Falatarin's going to take a little bit of his sweet time to move it up. Oh man, I didn't even see that. The tribute. Meadowtown goes and figures it out. Tsunami in a rage quit. That's allowed. Still, with everything now disabled, core pressure is here. Falatarin, unfortunately, does not like the look of that Pickles, because we do have the 5-man ESV crew about to be back up. Malfurion is nowhere to be found. He's boofing it as fast as he can. Still, despite that, we're looking for some big damage on top of Pickles. There goes the Ancestral on top of Meadowtown, but that's going to be it for Rhaegar. We did actually have an Eve there on top of Falatarin. Malfurion is just really coming way too late to this fight, and APM had once again overstayed their welcome on that last engage, and now they pay for it. This could be a game-ending mistake.
Top lane, Siege Giants going ham on this keep, and they're gonna get it. But hey, that doesn't really matter, as ESV could, in theory, go for the end here. APM got a little bit greedy with the core there. They had the curse. They could have probably got both of the other keeps down and had so much lane pressure. Pickles looking to end this one now. Just Meadowtown standing in their way, and now Mr. Savage, they have the damage here. They have the CC to heal for their own core. But Bim's Archon, so strong.
I think that's going to be it, Mr. Haas. A really well-fought game going back and forth, but unfortunately, they pressed their luck a little too long in that last engage, stuck around where they weren't welcome, and that will be the reverse kill. ESV Wildfire will move on here for Kings of the Storm Weekly number 12 into the the semi-finals. My apologies. And so that's pretty hype for them. It was a hard-fought battle, but well-deserved.
Yep, it was a really back and forth game. We had the early game, which went in favor of ESV Wildfire. They were able to de-push the hammer. That's really what you want from your early game. If someone picks the hammer, you just go Tacitus Stitches, have so much pressure in that bot lane, and they were able to get the lead from it. And then the mid-game fights didn't go their way, as we kind of expected, when the double support comp really comes into play and you have so much healing and so much CC in there as well. The roots stopping Stitches, Diablo moving on forward. But then the late game, man, he went for that little bit too much greed at the end there on the core. They had the safe keeps as an option. They went for it, lost the fight 5 versus 4. And this is one of the great things about Heroes, how one team fight can really turn the tide of the game.
That's it's a curse, or it's a blessing and a curse. You could be playing perfectly until one engage and then lose the game. So I understand a little bit of frustration there, but it really was APM just kind of sticking around way too long by the end of it all. And, you know, either way, a really good showing from them. Every time I get to cast them, they've always looked better and better. I remember them back in the HPL qualifiers. They just really weren't as impressive as they are now. So they have definitely been growing and practicing as a team. It's really good to see them now in more and more tournaments. And, you know, one of these days, one of those championships could be theirs at the rate that they're improving. It's not going to be today, however, because Kings of the Storm Weekly 12, it will be ESV Wildfire to move on. And they will move on to, as I refresh the bracket here on the left-hand side,
face either Synapsis or Magikarp.
Right. Now, on the other set of rounds, it looks like Evil Geniuses has beaten out Seventh Heaven. Seventh Heaven was actually in the Amateur League last night that we covered. That was really fun. And it looks like Lunatic actually had to forfeit. I think they're still busy over in Titan. So, yeah. Evil Geniuses and Tempest and Synapsis and Magikarp. One of those two games are going to be coming up next, coming your way, guys. So please do stick around. FourCourtJester and Haas will return, and we'll let you know what we're going to be covering when we do. So we'll see you in a few.